Hi, Brian McWhorter here with Black Belt Lean Thinking. In this video, I'm going to bring you a brief introduction to lean manufacturing, really focused on two things, its history and its core concepts. For one thing, the history tells us that there's something good going on. It's withstood the test of time. Henry Ford was doing a lot of these things, and they're just as relevant today. There's probably been over 3,000 articles and books written about lean manufacturing. So again, it's an indication that there's something good going on. The reason I want to explain the core concepts and benefits are, let's face it, we are benefit oriented. If we don't see a benefit that what's in it for me, we're probably not going to pursue it. As adults, we learn on an as needed basis. Again, if I don't see the benefit, I'm not going to pursue learning it. I don't learn how to go to Miami, Florida until I'm planning a trip there. So if you're trying to push lean manufacturing, say, on your employees without giving them the benefits first and explaining why they would want to pursue this, then you're probably not going to have a whole lot of luck getting this going. And in the inception, that old saying that you don't get a second chance at a first impression, well, you want your employees thinking good things about lean, not bad. And it can really improve the environment at work. I guarantee if you go after lean and just follow the basic premises of lean, the core benefits are going to come out for you. I guarantee you're going to improve worker morale, safety, quality, eliminate a lot of the waste and scrap, improve your lead time, shorten the lead time from when you get the order to where the customer gets their product. Even if it's a hamburger at a restaurant, you'll improve the flow of what you do. Okay, let's look at the history. As I mentioned, Henry Ford was doing not new concepts. He was measuring takt time, looking at flow, and using a lot of the lean tools we use today. Then in World War II, the Department of War created an organization called Training Within Industries. When all our men went off to war, well, we needed someone in the factories producing planes, trains, ships. Again, they don't build themselves. So they used what was called the J program, which was used for shipbuilding. And they used a train the trainer approach and taught these techniques to supervisors throughout the manufacturing facilities in the U.S. And it was very successful. Then after World War II, some of those individuals, like Dr. Deming, were sent to Japan to help rebuild Japan after the war. Now enter Toyota. Toyota is to manufacturing what Bruce Lee was to the martial arts. The Toyota production system was hailed as a machine that changed the world. Again, a lot of good books out about it. Okay, let's look at the core benefits and why lean is so powerful and so relevant. Okay, for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to my desktop and we're going to roll through some of those benefits. Okay, thanks for joining me at my desktop for the introduction to lean. Typically, when I do the introduction to lean class, it is a 6-hour class. But I don't think we want to do a 6-hour video. So today I'm going to give you the 30,000 foot view. So I'm going to give you just the key points from a high level, focusing on more of the why than the what and the how. In future videos, we'll dive more into the details. But also there are some fantastic references. You can Google 5S plus 1 or almost any of the lean tools and get some good information. What my intent with this video is to basically sell you on lean manufacturing and let you know why you definitely want to pursue it. And if your organization doesn't have a continuous improvement program, then you're leaving money on the table and your customers are losing out on some really good benefits. Okay, with that being said, let's move ahead. I love this definition of lean: the pursuit of perfection via a systematic approach to identifying and eliminating waste, non-value-added activities, through continuous improvement of the value stream, enabling the product to flow at a rate determined by the pull of the customer. Again, it's kind of a wordy definition for something that's supposed to be lean, but it has all the key core concepts there. Again, striving towards perfection, you'll never achieve it, but that's what the goal is. It's like heading east. You never run out of east to head to. Teaching all team members to identify those 7 forms of waste, always looking to eliminate that is not value added. And everything flows from the pull or beginning at the pull of the customer. So lean is customer centric. Again, I keep using the term lean, and lean manufacturing I know is what we're talking about, but I've always encouraged to really embrace the concept of continuous improvement. Again, Everybody understands the idea of moving forward, continuous improvement. There I still find misconceptions with lean. I have lean websites where people get on them thinking that it's on weight loss, to give you an idea of mistakes. But continuous improvement, everybody understands. Okay, goals of a lean system. I've mentioned before that lean does not set goals. Again, the company, your business, you set the goal, then lean gives you the framework to achieve that goal. That being said, there are certain common goals that end up being metrics or measures in almost any business system. Customer satisfaction, definite goal. Cost, quality, quantity control, making sure that you are not building excessive inventory, but getting what the customer needs when they need it. Their respective people. Again, these goals cannot exist or be achieved independently, but through a common focus. And I'll talk about that more actually in this next slide. Again, it's typical to have cost strategies, quality strategies, delivery strategies, but these can be adversarial with each other. What that means is if you focus totally on cost, going with the cheapest supplier, the cheapest materials, that will probably have a pretty negative impact on quality. One way to make sure that you don't have dilemmas by having these as adversarial is by using lean thinking. And that is going after the 7 forms of waste: overproduction, excessive inventory, excessive waiting time, excessive transportation, over processing, too much motion, and then defects or scrap. When you focus on eliminating those, you will have a positive impact on all these strategies. So the dilemma of that adversarial nature between them goes away. Some of the key measures that go with lean. Again, you've got to have very clear measurables. Again, if you take away the scoreboard on a basketball court, now it's no longer a game, it is just practice. One of the key things you want to measure is that takt time, and make sure all employees understand takt time. Takt time is your customer demand rate. You have whatever you need to do to meet customer demand, and you have time available to do it. Okay, if you're building to takt time, then you're getting the customer what they need when they need it. If you're building ahead of takt time, you're building excessive inventory. If you're building beneath takt time or below it, then the customer's waiting. They're not getting what they want when they want it. Some other measurables: value added time. Again, there's a tool called a value stream map where you capture all the activities and then you look at them and determine is it value added versus non-value added. And I'll explain more about that a little bit later on in this presentation. Cycle time, that's take any of the activities that your process goes through and how long does it take to go through that process, that activity. That is the cycle time for that process. Lead time, that's from when you get the order to where the customer gets the product and you get paid. That's your lead time. The good lean program is always looking to diminish their lead time. With all activities, there's a time element. And it's said that time is the main commodity of the 21st century. Again, we all have 24 hours in a day, but how are we using that time? And that's that one thing that you cannot get back. So time element in a work environment, very important. And it doesn't matter if it's manufacturing. Again, it is just or more important, say in a restaurant where your customers are waiting for their food, or in a hospital where you are dealing with life or death. So every activity needs to be scrutinized and looked at from the standpoint of eliminating waste and moving forward to that continuous improvement. I've talked a lot in past videos about the people aspect of lean. Yet lean revolves around 2 activities: eliminating waste and driving continuous improvement. At its core are the people that do the work. It's people centric. A good lean or continuous improvement program builds a circle of safety around everybody in the organization. Here on the left, you have the traditional leadership principles. I won't read through all of them. I suggest you do so. I will have this where you can actually download this presentation from my website. But look at some of the traditional things on the left side. Again, people are seen as a cost. No, people are assets. A leader is a boss. Yeah, it's that leader-follower mentality. It should be a leader as a teacher, a coach. And who do we blame? No, you ask why. If a problem occurs, that person in a way did you a favor, because most likely that problem or mistake has happened in the past and it's going to happen in the future. This is where, again, standard work needs to come to play in then training so that it doesn't happen again in the future. But it's very important to have a good leadership model, and from top down, everyone sees themselves as leaders. Again, you're really training the people on the shop floor to be able to identify problems. And remember, the lower levels, this is where all the information is. So you could drive the information up to the top, or you can push authority down to the bottom. Again, I use the example of, if you had a basketball team where every time a player saw that he had a shot at a three-pointer, he had to stop and ask for permission from the coach, they wouldn't be very successful. They need the freedom to take those shots when they get them. And that's what you want throughout your organization. Again, you want a family atmosphere, again, where if you work for us, you're part of our team. Either something is good for everybody or it's not good for anybody. Again, you don't want to benefit one department and cause trouble with the others. Everything is in a state of change. Stability does not exist. Everything is either green and growing or it's dry and dying. That's why, again, the default setting for life seems to be towards that dry and dying. You don't have to plant weeds in your garden. Just ignore it. They'll grow all on their own. Muscles not used, atrophy. Brain cells not used, die. If you want to end a relationship, simply do nothing. It'll end on its own. Again, good things happen by purposeful action. So having that mindset of continuous improvement, actively looking for waste, driving forward. If you're not working towards continuous improvement, striving towards perfection, then by default, this is pretty much what you're getting. The book, The Slight Edge, is a book I'd highly recommend that talks about, again, from this to this. Usually it's small improvements that don't require a great deal of effort, and often that's why they're not done. Again, to take care of your own health by eating right and doing a little bit of exercise. It's just as easy to not do it and grab that junk food and skip the workout. So again, you have to decide what you want and then go after it. So again, I mentioned that part of the reason for doing this video is to show you the benefits. So what are some of the typical improvements you'll see with the lean program? Well, I mentioned what lead time is, again, from the time where you get the order to where you get paid and the customer gets the product or service, about a 90% lead time reduction. That's amazing. So again, there's a lot of benefits for going after lean. Productivity increase. If you eliminate all the non-value added activities, you'll see a great improvement with this, as you will with WIP reduction. You're going to have less shrinkage and less scrap. Quality improvement goes along with it, and space utilization. Some of the first 5S plus one activities that I was involved in, I was amazed at how many cabinets, shelves, and drawers we were able to get rid of because they were full of crap. One department, I can think of one facility where we did 5S in, one department. Now this company had this factory in place at this point for over 40 years. And we started pulling the stuff out of this cabinet, and we found articles that were in there for probably close to 30 years. We found old bottles of whiskey that were basically used to clean instruments from back in the 1960s that they didn't even have anymore. Luckily, no one knew that those bottles were in there. They're just kind of buried under lots of other stuff that, again, was not needed for anything. We found old safety kits. Again, safety here, where the bandages were just mildewed and moldy. The inside of the cabinets were rusty. The equivalent of having a handgun, a jar of leeches, and a bottle of whiskey in there. So very, very old and out of date. One of the biggest mistakes I've seen companies make when embracing lean is they go with a tool mentality. They focus too much on tools, not enough on the purpose behind lean, mainly the things I'm giving you now. If you give someone a toolbox, that does not make them a mechanic. You hand someone a bunch of tools without any training, I'm not letting them near my car engine. There's got to be training. Okay, lean has rules and principles that you use as guidelines. So let's look at those. The main core principles for lean: Directly observe work as activities, connections, and flows. Everything that you identify throughout your value stream is going to fit into one of those three categories. They're either an identified activity, you have a way of connecting those activities, and then is there inventory? Is there stagnation? Does it flow? Is it flowing from the pull of the customer, or does something get to a point and just stop? Systematic waste elimination, knowing those 7 forms of waste. I'm not big on making employees, learn the Japanese terms, or stick with your jargon or your typical language. Um, but the 7 forms of waste, I would encourage to have your employees memorize. When they memorize these, and again, they're always on their mind a little bit. Sure, you're looking for those 7 forms of waste: that waiting, excessive inventory, motion, transportation, overproduction, overprocessing, underutilized people, scrap, defects. So you're always looking for those things if that's in your mind. Establish that high agreement on what and how. I've talked in other videos about having that team mentality. When you work together as a team and you get momentum and everyone agrees on the problem and the solution, then you can do amazing things. These last two really go together: systematic problem solving and creating a learning organization. In the beginning, you're going to have to spend some time training employees, but it's going to be time that's going to pay you back tremendously. You want to train employees on the key concepts of lean, like the 7 forms of waste, continuous improvement, standard work. But then you want to get them to understand scientific principles, such as problem solving by using a hypothesis. And this takes the monkey off their shoulders of things going south. First of all, if the team agrees on what you're going to test, now Bob has an idea and he takes it to the team, and Bob goes, I'm not saying this is going to fix it, but I'd sure like to try this. So for the next 24 hours, the next couple of shifts, let's try this and see what happens. You tweak it. If it works out fine, you create a standard for it. If not, then you make some adjustments and you try again. But again, it takes the monkey off their shoulder of being wrong. I'm not saying this is going to fix it. This is something we want to try. So again, here's your principles. Again, I would not necessarily make people memorize those, but have them where people can reference them easily. Then these are the rules that go along with the principles. First rule: structure every activity. If you look at everything as an activity, connection, and flow, and you identify every activity, then the next step is to structure those activities. Do you have a standard work in place for that activity? Is everyone trained in doing it the same way? So you'll see that the rules and the principles go together. Clearly connect every customer and supplier. So we'll go back to that first principle again. There are connections between activities, but are they designed? Are they optimized? Are they what makes sense? Is there pull? Are you using Kanban? Are there signals to determine when an activity needs to happen? Does information flow upstream as a product and services flow downstream? Specify and simplify every flow path. Complexity in an organization, in any system, is the enemy. The more complicated, that's when self-sabotage comes in. People avoid it. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Again, this is one of those things where I'll see consultants and engineers kind of overcomplicate. And again, that's not what you want. Do your best to simplify throughout all the activities. Improve through experimentation, that scientific method. Again, going back to these, training everybody on problem solving, using the 5 whys. Fishbone diagrams, simple tools. But again, I wouldn't have people necessarily memorize the principles and the rules, but have them as reference materials. Again, people need to be able to refer back to this. Another tool that I see often not used very effectively is the 5 whys, where the idea is to ask why till you get down to the root cause. Well, I'll give you 2 indicators to help you as guidelines for the 5 whys. You'll get to the root cause when you reach one of 2 things. One, you'll find that usually it'll hit both these. When you ask that question, you'll find that the answer is that you've got to a point where it's breaking one of the rules or principles. And I'll give you an example here in a minute. And also, you'll find that it solves more than one problem. Okay, let's use for an example. We'll do a quick 5 why here and we'll see where it breaks one of the rules or principles. Let's say that my air conditioning in my office goes out. Okay, so the first why did my air conditioning go out? Well, it froze up. Second why did it freeze up? Well, the filter was clogged. Third why was the filter clogged? Well, it had never been changed. Fourth why hadn't it been changed? Well, there's no maintenance program for it. Okay, fifth why was there no maintenance program? Now, this is a form of kind of why Simon says, where I'll use this in the classes I teach, and I'll ask people, okay, at what why did we actually get to the root cause? And very often they'll say, well, at that third why where, the filter was plugged, all you need to do is change that filter. Okay, that's true. You change the filter and you'll fix the problem, but is it going to occur again? You didn't get to the root cause. The real root cause was no maintenance program. So I mentioned that you're going to break a rule or a principle is one of your indicators that you hit the root cause. Well, in this, there was an activity that we found that wasn't structured, or in this case, didn't even exist. That was maintenance for the air conditioning. There was an activity that needed to be there that was missing. The other thing is, you'll find that when you get to that point, it's going to solve other issues. In this case, where if we change the filter, okay, well, down the road, there could be other issues that are going to occur because there's still no maintenance. You need someone looking at that air conditioning unit on an annual basis. So again, finding that root cause, you're going to find that it potentially solves other issues, not just the one that occurred at that point in time. So hopefully that helps you out. Okay, there are 4 key concepts here, components that really make up, the pillars of your lean or your continuous improvement program. And the first one, the center of our universe, is customer first. Again, we offer a service, a product, something that makes their life better. We want to always give them a better experience. It doesn't matter if you're offering a hamburger in a restaurant or, service in a hospital where it is life or death, or construction, manufacturing. They want what they want with the best possible quality, the best possible experience. I talked about tack time, that pace of production. Again, you don't want to be waiting in the restaurant for your steak. You want it hot and juicy, and you want it as soon as possible. Again, you want to know what the pace is to meet that customer demand, that tack time, and you want to build your system to really make sure you meet customer demand, not producing ahead, building inventory, or not making your customer wait. Okay, we've got to make a profit, but let's look how we control that profit margin. Your sales price is fixed, is set by the market. Again, a chair, the price is going to be determined by the market. The house that you're selling, determined by the market. So your control of costs is going to be on your end in terms of what you're putting into the product, your materials, the amount of time. So looking at those 7 forms of waste, eliminating those will go a long way to help reduce your cost. Efficiency. Efficiency of a plant is gauged by its ability to meet exact customer requirements with the least amount of resources. And we always have dwindling resources, and it seems like we're always trying to do more with less. Again, the way to control that is to go after those 7 forms of waste. Always look for those activities that do not add value to the customer. You're always looking to minimize or remove those. People. There are 5 factors that affect any process: people, machine, method, material, and environment. Of those, people are the only ones capable of learning, creating, and problem solving. Again, with every 2 hands, you get a free brain that comes with it. People are used to problem solving on their own. We manage our households, our own finances. So when we at work, we want to do those same things. Again, in the 21st century, if you're still using the old management model of leader follower, wow, you've probably got a lot of disengaged, disempowered employees, and morale is very low. Today, where we need people to react faster to problems that they're dealing with, we need a leader approach. This is something that Toyota is very good at. No matter where you're at in the organization, those underneath you, you are charged with helping to mentor them, to help them to become leaders themselves. So the idea is empowerment, to coach, to mentor. We care. I'm not the boss. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I want you to bring me problems and solutions, and let's work on this together. So getting that environment that is people centric is really core to developing a good lean continuous improvement program. As a matter of fact, if you don't do that, you're not going to get very far with lean. I guarantee it. It's not going to go far. Okay, if you have standard work, you've got your structures in place. The next step is that continuous improvement. You've gone through the organization, you're doing value stream mapping, you're looking at waste, your employees know about 7 forms of waste. Now you're refining, you're improving, you're moving forward. You've got people looking to test their hypotheses, using scientific method to always test the boundaries and look at why they're doing something a certain way and can we improve it. And that is such a much better environment to work in. Again, it would be so nice if I'm working for an organization to know that, you know what, my environment that I work in, the job I'm doing right now, is so much better than it was 6 months ago. And I can't wait to see what it's going to be like 6 months from now because we're continually improving. If you have standard work documents that say have not been changed in 6 months, then you're not doing Kaizen. It's not that continuous improvement concept. Where the term Kaizen is just a small improvement for the better. And again, I'm not pushing that you should have your people learn Japanese terms, if you push a lot on that, you're just going to add more stress to them that is really not needed. Kaizen, a lot of people already know because it's been promoted quite a bit. But the concept, again, is just small improvements for the better that don't require a lot of engineering, a lot of money, a lot of time. But this is something that I can do today to make things better. And I realize there are different levels of Kaizens. There are those ones that you're going to identify that are going to require maybe some money, some engineering help, some time. And you need to discuss as a team whether or not those are even worth pursuing. But you need all levels of Kaizen. Again, you want everyone throughout the organization doing this. If everyone has standard work, everyone is doing things the same way, and they're driving improvement, then that is a win for the entire organization. From top management to the floor, everyone is going to enjoy some benefits of those improvements. And your customer is going to definitely love it because it's going to improve their experience. It's going to remove variation, the pain that they feel. Shop floor first. Okay, the improvements that are made, we want to look at where the work is done, called the gemba. Again, throwing out another Japanese term, I'm sorry. The gemba, or where the work is done, could be in a restaurant. It might be the dining room. It might be the kitchen. In manufacturing floor, it would be the shop floor. In a construction site, it would be the site itself. But you're observing where the work is done, and you're looking for those 7 forms of waste. Also, as part of that, you're always looking for safety issues. Again, if you're putting people first, you're looking for those things that could, again, jeopardize their safety. You're looking for things that increase frustration levels. What takes too much time to do? On the shop floor, everyone deserves when they come to work 3 things from the get-go. They deserve a work area that's 5S. It should be clean and safe. It should have all the things. They should have all the things they need to do their job. They shouldn't have to go looking for instructions, raw materials, whatever. And the third thing is they shouldn't have to do firefighting at the beginning. We use a manufacturing environment again for this. If I show up to work for my shift, again, I should have an environment that's 5S, clean and safe. I should have all my materials. I shouldn't have to go get tools or boxes or supplies. And I shouldn't have to come into equipment that's running bad where I'm instantly doing firefighting or slaying dragons. If I come in and everything's in control, I have those 3 things working to my benefit, my behalf, then I have the setup for a good day. I can drive continuous improvement. The shop floor is kind of where the magic happens. That's where the workers are spending their time, and that's where you've got to identify those problems and drive improvement. I talked about driving down the authority to those people on the shop floor level. That's where the information is. So they've got to have the freedom to drive those hypotheses, take those experiments, and make things better. One of the things you want to standard work, I've mentioned in some of my other videos, is an escalation metrics. To where, again, if things are getting out of hand to where they need to contact a lead mechanic or engineering, then you want those concrete levels where they bring those people in. Again, that takes the monkey off their back to where, I know at this point I've dealt with this shrinkage for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, or hit a level to where I need to alert my lead mechanic or my supervisor or an engineer. Again, that takes the monkey off their shoulders, and it now puts more people involved with looking at these problems. So again, I'll talk about that in future videos. But again, the shop floor is where you want to be doing your investigating. Some of the other goals, things that you want to measure, again, these are those core concepts again: high quality, low cost, short lead time. These are the things that always should be improving. And it's by identifying that non-value added activities, those 7 forms of waste. Again, MUDA, as I stated before, I would not really harp on people memorizing the Japanese terms, but they definitely need to know how to identify waste and what is waste. Look at this comment from Henry Ford back in 1926. Ordinarily, money put into raw materials or into finished stock is thought of as live money. It is money in the business, it is true, but having a stock of raw materials or finished goods in excess of requirements is waste, which, like every other form of waste, turns up as high prices and low wages. Again, that could be just as relevant in a book on continuous improvement today, and here it is from Henry Ford back in 1926. Okay, remember I said that lean is about continuous improvement and eliminating waste. So it is very important that employees know how to recognize waste and understand the definitions of value added versus non-value added. It lists here 2 different types of muda or waste. Adds value but is necessary, and has no value and is necessary, and adds no value and is avoidable. To give you examples: as no value and is necessary, most likely you will never be able to remove all the motion or transportation from processes. It's necessary, but how much? You want to minimize it as much as possible. If it adds no value and is avoidable, then you want to eliminate it altogether. Okay, for something to be value added, it's got to meet 3 criteria. It's got to be something the customer is willing to pay for. It's got to change the form or function of the product in some way, and it's got to be done right the first time. If it doesn't meet all 3 of those, it is not value added. Now I'm going to throw a quiz in here for you. This is a question I usually ask my students in the class, and I'll ask you the question, and I'll give you a few seconds to see what you come up with on this. Okay, that being said, I gave you the definition. I'll repeat it again. For something to be value added, it's got to be something the customer is willing to pay for. It's got to be done right the first time, and it's got to change the form or function of the product in some way. Okay, that being said, quality checks. Are quality checks that your employees do value added? Give you a few seconds here. Okay, if you go by the definition I gave you, no, they are not. Okay, quality is important, and your customer definitely wants and deserves good quality, but they don't care that you have to do quality checks. They just want good quality. Uh, Quality checks, no, what you want is good CPK, good robust processes where quality is built in all the way, getting good, maybe having good specifications from your suppliers, and maybe automating visual checks, or 100% inspections just through automation. But when your employees are tied up doing excessive quality checks, no, that does not add value, and it ties them up when they could be doing continuous improvement or driving some other improvement. Yes, driving continuous improvement. So no, quality checks are not value added. Again, you want quality, but no. Make the problem visible. Okay, a lot of the visual management that goes with 5S is specifically for exposing problems. You want to get your environment to where it communicates for you. A lot of the marking and things we do are to give a sense of order. When you walk into an environment, you ought to be able to tell exactly what's going on. The mind is a pattern-seeking, mechanism. It is looking to connect the dots. We're used to having visual cues. The dashboards of our cars are set up the same way. Can you imagine if they were all set up differently? You'd have a learning curve every time you got into a different car. I've been to different factories and sites where they've been doing lean for a while, and I asked them what is the purpose of 5S plus one, and no one has the answer. They give me answers like, oh, it's to find a place for everything and everything in its place, and it's good housekeeping and this and that. No, the purpose is to surface problems. You don't want all your alligators underwater. You want to surface those so you can deal with them. Again, just because you don't know a problem exists doesn't mean it's not causing trouble for you. You want to create an environment where you can see what's happening immediately. If I walked into your house and you have a beautiful home and I left a foot mark on your nice clean carpet, you would notice it immediately. If I left a ring on your shiny nice coffee table, you would notice it immediately and, hey, Brian, you're messing up my house. I invite you to my house and I'm a slob. You're worried about sticking to something. You can mess up all you want and I'm never going to notice it. Again, you set the standard in your work environment, in your home, and the higher your standard is, the easier it's going to be to flush out those problems. Again, I've seen give you another example. Seen workbenches that were always cluttered, to where if someone took off a component that needed to be sent off for repair, it could sit on that workbench for days or weeks before someone notices it. But if it's always clean and someone sets that component down, why is that here? When the next person comes in for the shift, they always notice. So again, the purpose is 5S and all the lean visuals is make those problems come out. Okay, 95% of all lead time is typically non-value added. And I'll confirm that with just the lean programs I've been involved with. When you start doing using a lean tool called value stream mapping, and you measure, you look at all those activities, connections, and flow or inventory or lack of flow, then you're going to find that the 7 forms of waste really make up a lot of those that time element. The waiting, emotion, over processing, excessive inventory, excessive transportation, maybe shrinkage or WIP, overproduction, and it's all from the underutilized employees, the underutilized people. Remember, the ones on the floor, they know where the problems are. And by giving them the lean tools and using tools like value stream mapping, you can flush out those non-value added activities and go after it. That's where, again, it's really important for employees to be able to recognize non-value added versus value added. This is a house of lean from Toyota. I believe one of the Toyota vice presidents designed this when they were getting a lot of inquiries from different people. Toyota was getting a lot of global attention about their production system. So he created this as a visual tool. Again, with time, your employees should be able to recognize through your program what most of these concepts are. Remember, lean as an initiative will eventually fail because all initiatives at some point go away. So what you need to do is infuse this into your own system. And again, it doesn't matter if you're a restaurant, a hospital, manufacturing facility, your standard work needs to be infused with the key concepts that are enablers for a strong lean program. So again, with time, slowly incorporating all these elements. I love at the center is that continuous improvement, the plan, do, check, act. Standard work. Again, this is the enabler. This is the glue that holds everything together. If I were to come to work at your business, would you be able to hand me a sheet of paper that shows all the activities I'm going to do through the course of a shift? And for every activity, do you have it broken down where you can hand me instructions that show how to do those activities? Again, when you're working to that level of detail, again, you come up with processes that are reliable, repeatable, and capable. And now when you come up with an improvement, you can revise that standard. If you have standard practices that have not changed in the last 6 months, then there's a problem there. It shows that continuous improvement is not happening. You've got to have standards, and then you want to slowly be tweaking and improving those. One of the last large projects that I worked on in Lean was to do a value stream map of the shipping process for foreign and domestic products. So again, sending product overseas and shipping it, just within our country. And we did a value stream map and found out a lot of their standards have not been redone in over 16 years. Well, a lot's happened in the last 16 years. So we were able to reduce their lead time and complexity tremendously. There's a lot of duplication and just a lot of waste that had been built into the system. So some really big wins there. Okay, your standard work. I love this definition from Pascal Dennis. Standardized work is our playbook, the safest, easiest, and most effective way of doing the job that we currently know how. And again, you always want to be pushing the boundaries or challenging employees to come up with better ways. Again, what frustrates them? What is too complicated? What takes too many steps? Is there newer technology? Is there better materials out there? So always coming up with that better. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this video gave you some ammunition to help sell your employees and people on lean. Again, I've seen it transform environments and made them a lot nicer to work in. I was really surprised when I first got involved with training people in lean at what a powerful motivator it was. Employees that were disengaged when given the resources and the ability to drive improvements in their area really jumped on board.